Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the association. Mr. President, members of the board, thank you for having me tonight. I think everybody knows who I am, but for the record, my name is Daniel Toscano. I'm an attorney. My law office is located at 15 Broad Street, Suite 610. And for months and months, I used to say 601, but I realized it's 610. But I've been going to the right spot. That's what I'm doing. Tonight, I'm here with Charlie Kim, and I represent Charlie and his wife Carla. And to my far right over there, Diane Lynn, who's the architect in this project here. So Charlie, what we're here tonight for is to respectfully request your support for the improvements to 5 Jackson Ave. Charlie and his wife Carla bought 5 Jackson Ave recently. It's a 2-family residential dwelling. What they like to do is file a long-form application with the City of Boston to change the legal occupancy of the building from a 2-family to a single-family residential dwelling. Single family is going to be owner-occupied by Charlie, his wife, 2 young children, daughters 6 and 4, both attend the Elliott School, both come here to the Mazzaro Center, very active in the Old North Church, and baseball and all our community activities here in the neighborhood. Charlie and his wife have been here and owned property here for the past 14 years, and they own a condo on Commercial Street, and it's just getting a little bit too small for their young growing family. And about 3 years of searching for a place that they can call their home. They want to stay here in the neighborhood, but after 3 years, they found a location where they can feel comfortable and continue to pass this home down from generation to generation, they hope. So with that said, I'll tell you a little bit about the project. There's not much. It's 5 Jackson Ave. Everybody knows 5 Jackson Ave overlooks Slide Park. The current use, like I said, is a 2-family. We're changing the use to a 1-family. So we're changing the legal occupancy, so with the City of Boston. And we're also creating a 1-story addition, which is approximately 348 square feet of living space with a front deck, which will obviously be the exclusive use of that particular unit. The violations that we encountered when we filed it is the rear yard insufficient, which in the multifamily residential sub-district is 12. We're probably around 11.6, so we're a little off, so we need to seek relief of that few inches. The FAR, as of right now, the current FAR, everybody knows in the multifamily sub-district is 3. We are currently at, without the addition, at 3.4, so it's an existing non-conforming use, but with the addition of the 348 square feet, it brings it up to 3.8. The other violation is the roof structure. By changing the structure of the roof, we're seeking a variance to include that into our living space. Tell you a little bit about the roof deck in the addition. We do have some photos. Hopefully everybody can see it. I know I'm talking a little fast because I know we're on a time here and we have a lot of photos for you, but tell you a little bit about it. We had set it back, so Jackson Ave, we had set it back, the addition, 16 feet 4 inches. So if you can see it from that view, so we set back from 16 feet 4 inches to the back. So you won't be able to see it really from Jackson, not to be able to see it from Jackson Ave, but you probably, by the time you get to see it, you really have to go into Slide Park, and I think Charlie and his wife and the architect really walked it off to see how far you can walk back, so you won't be able to see it and change the scope of the character of that particular area. The height of the existing building, if you include even though you don't include the head house currently, but for these purposes, if you include the top of the head house, the height of the building is 43 feet. By taking down the head house and adding the new addition, we're going to 46 feet. So we're adding 3 feet of height on this property. It's unique in the way as this property, the height of the building is going to, from the front to the back, it's going to slope down. So the headroom is going to be at the top, at the front of it is going to be about 8 feet. And as it slopes down, it's going to be 7 feet 4 inches, which is the minimum height requirement that we have. And there's a number of reasons why we did it, because we just needed to slope down for the drainage, but also we took it down after meeting with the ZLC and meeting with the abutters, and you hear hear from today and Councilor Wiggins, who we had the opportunity to work together on a number of projects, although he's always against my projects, but that's okay. But we meet with the ZLC. It was a little high. It was at 8.8 in the front and 8.2 in the back. So we took it down 8 inches, so we can meet the minimum height requirement. And basically, we did that because, as you're going to see, from the abutting building, which is 3 Jackson Ave, has an existing addition with several windows that overlook this roof deck. But by pushing it back 16 feet, we felt that there's enough adequate open space, doesn't impede on the front of his property and the front deck of his property. By keeping the height, still be able to see well over the height of our building. And there's still some room in the back because our property does not go as far back as the abutting property. We've got a couple of letters of support that I'll pass into the president at some point, but I want to turn it over to Charlie because one of the things that came up, because making it a single family, hey, why do you need so much space? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to make this probably about 2,700 square feet of space, but each floor is very small. The lot is about 720 square feet, and when you include the stairwell and the elevator shaft, really makes each floor space probably maybe 525 square feet roughly. I'm taking a good guess. With Charlie's growing family and his parents, his in-laws, so I'm going to just turn it over to Charlie and tell you why the additional space is much needed for Charlie to live here.
Thank you, everyone, and all the NEWRA members. We were just in front of the NEWRA board, and I didn't really express why we were doing this space, and I feel that we probably should because it's more of a personal reason of changing the space and going to a single family. So before I get into it, we do have letters of support specifically from direct abutters. 7 Jackson Avenue, which is a direct abutter, signed a letter, we'll submit those. And then 500 Commercial Street is also a direct abutter. They're at the end of the street. They had a trustees meeting, and then we wrote to the trustees, and they wrote back that they had no note of any of the unit holders having any issues with the plans. We gave them full detailed plans inside and out. We also know many of them, and they know our family, so they fully understand what we're trying to achieve. What I want to try to talk about is that today, you're going to hear the word excessive being used, and I really want to get clarity around the term excessive because it's a relative term of comparison, and we're really talking about the zoning is for the rooftop addition. But the reason why I want to tell you about the personal part of this is because we're bringing it down to a single family for one reason, and that's we're going back to a multi-generational family home. So we met with the people that used to own this building for 100 years, and we asked them, how did you use this home? Because we want to bring it back from apartments to what it was where they raised their children, had their grandparents, etc. So my parents are recently retired. Their desire, their want is to be near our children, and they live in Ohio. My sister lives in Oregon, so we're coast to coast. So the only thing that my sister and I can do is let's have them retire, and then they'll spend 51% of their time in Massachusetts, 49% in Oregon. The reason why is Massachusetts has the best health care for retired individuals, and I'm probably not, I wouldn't say I'm the better sibling. So that's part of why we're going to single family. So they're going into the basement units, and then also whatever units they have because it's free space for whatever. So as of right now, they recently retired, but we have a big space issue. We're living in about 900 square feet, and this leads me to the other letters of support that we have that I'd like to respectfully submit. We have a letter of support from our youngest daughter, who's 4, Isabella's teacher at the Elliott School, and then also from the vicar, Reverend Stephen Ayers, from the Old North Church. They actually are these two communities, the North End community and then also the school and the North End Church is actually very important to why we decided to make such a huge investment. You'll see in the drawing, we're adding full sprinklers, we're changing the stairs to be compliant, and we're adding an elevator. This is all due to ADA, not requirements, we're following guidelines. And this is very specific as to why we're spending so much money in this building. because our main priority is safety and accessibility for all of our families, all of our friends, and our children. So the letter that's going to be submitted to the board and those who want to read it is going to discuss our daughter, who's 4, Isabella. She actually has a disorder, an airway disorder, so it's a medical condition, and this requires round-the-care nursing. Many of you have probably seen her. She runs around, she's happy. It's just that she needs 24-hour medical support, and these are registered nurses. So we live in 900 square feet, two bedroom, 1 bathroom. My parents were constantly visiting. That's 8 people at any given moment in time in our home. And we have, they're not strangers, they're our family members, they're registered nurses. But as you can tell, privacy, it's a relative term for us now. We consider privacy to be more of, not a privilege, not a right, it's more of a shared space. And we're teaching our children that space is something that you need to respect, and space is also something that we share. So that is why we're expanding and going to a single family home, because so many people, not only in this community, but our family, they want to be around our kids. And as many of you may probably raise your children are retired, my parents need purpose, and they told me, this is the first time they actually ever told me anything what they want to do. They said their purpose in life is to be around my children and my wife. They didn't say they wanted to be around me as much, but they have the kids and the wife. And it, you know, the only thing that I could give in return, my wife and I can give in return, is that they should have somewhere where they feel comfortable, that they can live, they can have somewhat of their own privacy with space, but that they're also living in one home, so that everybody can be together, but also be able to get in their certain spaces, etc. And I didn't want to get into more of the details of what it's like to live in 900 square feet with 8 people, but I'm sure you guys can understand what that is like. So with that said, I respectfully submit these letters. 2 of them are non-abutters. They're just community leaders and community members that are supporting us. And then the others are direct abutters. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, I think at this time I'll open it up, but I'll leave it up to you to open it up. Oh, go ahead.
I have cover a couple of drawings that we haven't put it in the packet. So if you guys go to A4 in the handouts, that drawing illustrates the elevation taken from 500 commercial, basically, the commercial. So the top drawing shows a part of 3 Jackson Avenue, and it's a head house and a roof deck to it, and the portion of 3 Jackson and the proposed roof. The drawing in the middle shows existing conditions, and there are 2 dotted lines. The red lines show the existing deck, finished deck, to the top of head house at 3 Jackson Avenue. So the height is 3 foot 3 1/4. The proposed volume, we are going up to 5 feet at the highest point, so that's less than a 2 foot of a jump from the existing height to the, from the existing to the proposed. And the amount of also this, the vertical red line shows the where the front of the new proposed wall is going to be in relationship to the front of the building, and then that's roughly 16 foot 4 inches off, which comes way back to our existing head house location. By doing that, we basically leave this larger, the front deck of the 3 Jackson completely open. There's nothing in front of them to obstruct your view on this side. So a lot of the photos that you receive, there are a lot better views out through this direction than the back, because that's where you see all the condensers on the 500 commercial and then some other buildings in between. So that was sort of our focus in terms of minimizing the volume and the square footage to the back of our building, and then making sure that it works with the 3 Jackson in the back. And then as you can see from these 2 drawings, amount of a jump height that we are jumping up is not significant. That's all I can say.
Right. Well, I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to open the discussion up. The first thing we do, as I mentioned before, is we ask for abutters to identify themselves, and we take questions from the abutters.
let's see, my name is Michael Wiggins, and I'm from 84 State Street, Boston, attorney, and I'm representing Paul Kafassis today. And I'd like to talk about impact, but I just want to say preliminarily, certainly personal goals for any dwelling may or may not be admirable. We've heard a lot about this family's use, and certainly I respect what they like to do with it, but zoning doesn't talk in terms of personal use. A hardship that you need to establish for variance has to come out of the structure itself. In other words, there's maybe a triangular lot, you can't fit it in, so you need extra space, something like that. And none of those factors are present here. This is a building that enjoys more than the amount, the allowable FAR, and it wants to go up more. And there simply is no hardship under the law that would allow this. Now, if there were no impact on the neighbors, perhaps we could all go along with this. And unfortunately, there is an impact. And I'm just going to step aside and let Paul present to you from his perspective and looking out from his floor what he's going to see.
If I can make a suggestion, the way we normally like to run the meetings, we'd like to have the questions here at first, and then have a commentary period, which is so absolutely we want to hear the presentation that you have. But I'd like to get all the questions out so that people. So if you guys have any questions that you want to publicly ask, you can have the first shot, and then if there are any other rebutters, they would get, and any other questions, I'll just open it up for questions for folks, and we'll finish the questions. Does anyone?
I have a question. Susan Hennessy, 105 Prince Street. Is the elevator shaft in this encompassing the height of this building?
Yes, it's a residential elevator, the top of the finished floor to the top of the roof within the proposed.
So this is not just a head house, it is a room.
It's an addition, yes. It's 348 square feet. And the elevator shaft there's nothing above it. It's included in that addition.
Other questions from either abutters or non-abutters? Okay. Then comments, you have the floor.
We've got some visuals of our own, so hopefully everyone can take a look. As Mike said, I'm Paul Kafassis. I live at 3 Jackson, right next to this proposed property, proposed addition. And this is my partner Maggie. We moved here to North End end of 2014, so we're pretty new to the neighborhood and entirely new to this process, having done no additions of our own. So thank you for listening. Unfortunately, as you might expect, we need to express strong opposition to this proposal. The internal changes in the building all sound great. They don't really have any impact on us, and that is nothing we need to object to, but the proposed addition on the roof is very large and would severely and negatively impact us. The north end itself was obviously a huge draw when we purchased our property, but the property itself has two very key features that were impressive to us. The first is this: it's a light well. This is our floor plan, and this blue shaded area is a light well. And what that light well does is it has 8 windows, and those 8 windows bring a whole lot of light into our home. I'm betting a lot of you live in a row house here, and you don't have any windows on the sides, and it can be pretty dark. This particular property has the advantage of these windows, which bring a lot of light into the building and make it a lot brighter than it would otherwise be. The second major reason that this property was so attractive to us and why we moved here in 2014 is this. This is our top floor. This is the view that they're talking about, and this is the existing head house on their roof. So we're looking out from our deck out to Charlestown, the Bunker Hill Monument, East Boston. It's a pretty incredible view, and I hope you guys can see why we're trying to protect it. I should note, our bedroom has a view of a brick wall. It's about 3 feet away. I can almost touch it. Most of our rooms do not have a view like this. This is sort of the gem of the house. It's the top floor, and it's something that we feel pretty strongly about, and it was a big reason why we bought the property. I actually run a small business from home, and this is where I have my office on the top floor. And this is what I look at every day. This little bit of yellow right here is actually that light well that I mentioned, so that's where the light comes into the windows there. As I said, the roof addition that they're proposing would have a really negative impact on this. If you flip this around, Maggie's a designer, and she mocked up their proposed structure. This is that structure. It's pretty huge. This is our deck right here, and the structure would be several feet taller than that deck, looming over that deck. And this is the light well, and the structure would be looming over that light well. These photos, I think, speak pretty well. Renderings are nice to look at, but when you can see the photo and see exactly what the impact will be, I hope it speaks to you. This is the view from my desk. Every day I'm working up there, 7 days a week pretty much, which is probably too much, but, and this is what I can see. If their structure is built, I'll be looking at the wall. And, you know, not ideal, obviously. As well, we mentioned that light well, and the light that comes in through those windows, through these windows here. The structure that they're proposing would block a lot of that light well. This is from our 3rd floor looking up. We can see the sky right now. That's the very edge of their head house, their current head house. This is the wall that would be right there, blocking a whole lot of light from coming in. It's not ideal for us, obviously. I want to say that we're absolutely willing to compromise with the Kims, with our new neighbors, and we want to have a good relationship with them. We want to, no offense to anyone here, I don't really want to be here having to fight this, but I have to protect my property. The compromise that they mentioned was taking the height of their structure down 8 inches, and we still wind up with an incredibly large structure, 350 square feet on the roof, just very large and taking up a whole lot of what we can see and blocking a lot of our light. We've proposed our own compromise. You can see that here. This is the floor plan. I think it's in the plans there, of their roof. Instead of using the entire back 2/3 of this, we're hoping that they'll shrink the structure down a little bit. This would be about half the size of their currently proposed structure. It would still allow their stairs and their elevator to reach the roof, so they would have full accessibility. It would also have plenty of space, actually, for a sitting area, a bathroom. It seems even big enough to have a small bed up there if required. So as I said, it allows the elevator to reach the roof and provides plenty of space up there. For us, it has far less impact on our property. It reduces the impact if you flip this around. This is that structure mocked in. It's no longer looming over our deck. It covers just a very small amount of the light well, while still providing quite a bit of space. You know, we might prefer that nothing were up there, but this is something that we could live with and support as good neighbors. Ultimately, Charlie used the word excessive, and he said, you know, that's relative. But if you look at these pictures and you look at that huge side view, I think it's pretty clear that this is a very large structure. We might prefer that there were nothing up on the roof, but we're absolutely willing to work with our new neighbors and reach a more reasonable compromise, one that's fair to both parties, even allowing space up on that roof, allowing a structure up on that roof. Again, we want to be good neighbors. We want to welcome the Kims next to us, and we want to have a good relationship with them. But we also need to protect what we have now, and their currently proposed roof addition is just too much and would harm us greatly. We're hoping that people here will reject this request and that we can work with them to reach a more equitable compromise for both parties. Thank you for listening.
I'm going to ask for some additional comments, but I want to ask Victor, as ELC chair. I mean, our preference as a residents organization is to have everyone sort of, the abutters agree, you know, and if there is an agreement as opposed to sort of an adversarial vote taking, it's always preferred. So Victor, you presided over the last CLC meeting. What was your take on, is there
Well, they were
compromise?
discussing, they were accommodating, listening to each other's position and accommodating them. What, I'm not sure, and this is a question I would have, has there been a response to your last proposal
For the smaller structure? No, there's not. Not as of yet.
Was it recently presented?
That was something that we presented, I believe it was last week, before either of these two meetings. But certainly, you know, we would be open to delaying this and hopefully having a little more conversation if that would be helpful.
But do you have a meeting, a Board of Appeals meeting soon?
I have not seen one scheduled yet.
Do you have a ZBA?
I anticipate maybe July 12th.
Okay,
So the 7th is full. I might be able to get on 21 June, but it looks like the 12th of July.
I mean, I want to hear other people's comments, but what I'm hearing is there's a proposal, there's a counter proposal, there's no formal discussion after that, and that's really not the preferred scenario in a situation like this. It would be better if it were sort of talked through before we come here, but you're here. So the question to you is there a possibility that you guys might want to sit down and have a couple of chats? Or
I mean, I think Charlie Collar is that these plans were prepared based on looking at 5 Jackson Ave. I think we've heard it 100 times, and I don't want to come here and say, you're not entitled to a view. I think we all know that, but we certainly take into consideration the view. It's taken into consideration their head house and their view. That's why the plans were drawn the way they are. And what's not shown, which is a little inaccurate, what's not shown in those plans is the 16 feet and 4 inches that this head house, this addition was put back. So we can accommodate 5 Jackson Ave, so they have full access to their front window, full access to their front deck. Now, if you take a look at that deck, and just to give you a little procedural, and it's no fault to Paul and the owners of 5 Jackson Ave, this structure was built, this was to come here, it's kind of ironic to come here and impose it as excessive and stay within the FAR, and Attorney Wiggins talks about the hardship and the variance. This is a head house that was expanded. And this was expanded without permits from ISD at one point. And at some point when it was already built, and it was built from front to back with a long deck that goes from the front of the building to the back of the building with 6 windows, 2 glass doors, so it can overlook 3 Jackson Ave and down Commercial Street. Most of the properties I think we see here in the neighborhood where people build additions or have roof decks, they're at the front of the building, they're at the back of the building, doing the views. But this takes up the entire side. So basically, it's too bad. I already occupy this, I came first, and that's too bad. But at some point back, and I forgot, I think it was 2002, went through the permitting process. I'm not sure if it came to these community meetings, but it went through the permitting process and it was approved, but it was approved just as existing. So that's a little procedural, so it's unfortunate that Charlie and Carla will come here and going through the process, and now we're saying, well, I'm here first, and your roof deck is excessive, and your living space is excessive, when their head house is expanded. I believe the plans that I've seen that are on the ISD website was about 425 square feet.
When was that expansion done?
I believe it was done in the late 90s.
Okay, so well before.
Yeah, well before. That's why I say it's no fault.
As it is when we purchased,
It's no fault of Paul and the owners at 5 Jackson Ave. But with these plans here, as you can see, it's set back 16 feet 4 inches. We brought it down to height enough where you do not eliminate his light, airflow, and his views. Still has all of his windows, still has light, airflow, and views. And also the back of his deck is out, the property does not go all the way back. You still have reasonable deck space in the back. We believe that this was done in consideration to 5 Jackson.
Okay, great. Sue, you had a...
Well, I was just looking at the image that's on E2, and my concern is not the deck. My concern is that the light well is going to be obstructed, and that's huge.
That's right. And I think Diane might be able to address it a little bit, but it doesn't get any direct sunlight. Straight down. Certainly doesn't get it with the way the sun comes. There is some light. We're not blocking the light well. There'll still be a light well going all the way down. It's shared. Charlie has some windows. There's some windows on 5 Jackson Ave also on that side, but certainly not covering the light well. It's still going to be open. Doesn't get any direct sunlight. But I think
I don't think that we either have to vote up or down if there's not going to be a compromise before the meeting, based on what we've heard.
Well, I hear what you're saying.
It's been working.
Yeah, as I said, we really prefer as a resident association that everyone talk this through. We would have loved to see some of this discussion happen before. It sounds like there are two sides that have positions, but anyway, I'll let you respond.
So I just want to let everybody know, because now we have attorneys involved, I brought the whole history of the communications. The day we closed, we reached out. We started this conversation a long time ago. We went through many, many revisions, and all the documented emails, all the documented conversations, every single one, up until the Sunday where it specifically, we had to call out and ask, please let us know where you stand, yes or no, and let us know what else there is. I was negotiating with myself for 3 months. There are invoices. So we listened to, there is full documentation. You please have to understand, not only did we ask rejects, we engaged the neighborhood. We hired the attorney that lived in the neighborhood. We went out to all of our friends who've done this and said, what is the biggest concerns in the neighborhood? We approached the Parks Department because there's a person there, we're like, what is it that the neighborhood should have? Because we are looking at ourselves as contributors to the neighborhood. That's personal. So what is it that we have to do to maintain the essence of the neighborhood on a building perspective? So we did reach out, we tried to negotiate, and you are absolutely correct. And as of this day, there is a standstill. This is a extreme, we came down to where we're at, and then on Sunday we received, here is your option. So it's not really an offer, counter offer. There were many offers, counter offers up until this point. So it is a long period of 3 months that we were doing this, that I was doing this, having conversations, and we were going back and forth. There's documented meetings. There are 3 face-to-face meetings. There are response emails. They are cordial. You have to understand, Paul and I have been very cordial, so everybody, if you think this is hostile, it is not. And I fully respect his position. We listen to it. We go to each other's places and talk about this. We are just at a point, that's why we believe we should present, because we believe we've done our very best, and this is where we are at.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm curious, my name is Mary Holland. I just don't understand how you buy a place that would bring about a problem like this, and I'm just curious as to why you do that.
Because Charlie and his wife want to stay in the neighborhood, they've been here 14 years, and it's a great location. And
But I don't know, I mean, why would you buy
if you don't mind, where do
expectation?
you live, if you don't mind me asking?
I live in the waterfront, but I have family in the North End.
No, that's okay. Why does it make it different? It does make it different, because, I mean, if I knew the answer, are you living in the Prince Building?
No,
The Lewis Wharf?
no.
I mean, I just, so, you live in Harbor Towers? I mean,
Yes.
but, I mean, it's like, why do you buy a place when possibly Shafaro could go up? I mean,
That doesn't make what they're doing here, all right?
I would like to understand the context. So you're asking why we would buy a property knowing that we're going to get into a
It
fight?
doesn't suit your needs. You bought a property that doesn't suit your needs, and now you want to expand it to suit your needs, and that's going to harm your neighbor. It's as simple as that.
Well, I need to understand what you mean by
I just
exactly what you have to re-explain that. I'm not exactly sure I understand. Purchasing a building and saying that it's not suiting.
I just want, I mean, I live in a first floor, so I'm in the light wells. So on E2, where the well is, the direction of the sun would be affected, is it? Right, the sun is behind.
The sun moves over the light well throughout the day.
There's
But
no.
where's the direction of the sun?
So if you,
It looks like it's behind your building, correct?
For part of the
That would be
day,
an afternoon.
you're basically,
No, I'm just asking. Can I ask the question? So I just want to know how much sun would be affected.
Can you get the picture on E1 on the left side? You can see that there's a 2-story taller building that's about 8 feet off from those 3 Jackson and 5 Jackson on the across the alleyway. So the sun goes back in the south behind that building. So this, unfortunately, the light well doesn't get direct sun at all. So
that is
it's a
simply
little.
false. I'm sorry, but that is simply false. We get direct sunlight throughout parts of the year. And saying that we don't is simply false.
So if you get direct sunlight, it would be over on top.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Until there's a wall in front of it.
But it'd still be on top of you. That wall is not covering that light bulb.
David,
Dave Kubiak, Cleveland Place. I thought that I didn't need to speak, but Dan's comments make me feel it would be wrong for me not to speak. First of all, Dan, you said no one is entitled to review. That's equivalent to saying anyone is entitled to take away someone's view. Number one. Number two, I've said it already, why didn't they buy a building big enough for their needs? And now they've got to hurt a neighbor in order to accommodate their needs. The third thing is, it doesn't matter whether the sun hits directly on that light well or not. There are light wells all over the neighborhood. Most of them do not get direct sun, but they do get light and they do get air. That's the purpose of a light well. So you're going to be hurting them in that way as well. And then the last thing I want to say is that every one of the support letters you've described today are from folks who get no impact whatsoever from what you're trying to do.
Correct. But I do want to respond to 2 of your 4. The logic is flawed, what you're telling me. And that this is really difficult for you to ask, why would we purchase a building that doesn't meet our needs? Situationally, at the point when we purchase the building, certain things meet your needs. When you buy something, nothing meets. If you purchase a building that has 100% all of your needs, if you can find one, please let me know. But when we went through this process and spent 3 years of this process, it was a well thought out process. This is not something that we just decided immediately. We sought out the right architect, we sought out the right GCs, and we talked to the community. So this is not something that, again, that we took lightheartedly. And this is not something that we're just going out there and saying, this is just us. We talked to the neighbors. We did, and I keep saying this over and over again. We talked to them. They talked to us. And we are at a standpoint where they finally came and said, this is what we want. And then we said, this is where our compromise goes to. And that's where we stand right now.
And I'll just follow up, just on the first point, just not entitled to do it. I don't say it to be mean, I don't say it to say too bad. I mean, I say it in response to when I hear, I'm saying, well, your head house and the addition is excessive and you should live within your means, from a neighbor who has a head house that's been expanded. And once again, it wasn't Paul, that's been expanded to 425 square feet. And I think it took up the entire length of the building, which in turn, it affected anyone going down Jackson Ave who may have wanted to purchase property and take advantage of the same views.
Brian.
Thank you. I'm Brian, 26 Battery Street. You talk about the process and the length, which, the back and forth and how they've come with a compromise. But it's all that time, the fact is that you have an opportunity for a compromise here. When you talk about what's best for the neighborhood and the community, but it's a pretty good opportunity right here to maybe make a compromise. And isn't that what community and being good in the neighborhood? You're talking a lot about it, but you have an opportunity. And now you're at a standstill. We're going to finish this guy, put him in a bad spot. With his investment, there's a lot of money there. 348 square feet on a building this size, it seems like, I don't know how much you're going to get out of that when you're going to cause a big problem to other people. It just seems a little bit greedy, where there should be a compromise with the community.
Take you 2 in succession.
Hi, my name is Joanna Daly. I am in a butter to the property. I own a property on Charter Street, 57 Charter at the top of the hill. I understand their plight, I really do. I have the same exact view that they do, okay? But the problem is, I've got 2 head houses in front of me. Nobody asked me. I don't own the view. They don't own the view. And what's not being highlighted is the fact they're not losing a view. They're losing part of a view. They still have a gorgeous view over Slide Park. They can also see the USS Constitution and all of the water over there. And they can see everything when they're up on their deck. I also have on my property, an entire floor went up overnight on the building next door, blocked direct sunlight. The sun didn't disappear. The room still has light. It's still a very bright room. So I do understand. I am sympathetic to their situation, but I've known the Kims for years. These are wonderful people. These are the people you want living next door to you. They're not going to come in here, live there for 4 months, and then leave and rent it out to a bunch of partiers. We all live in this neighborhood. It's loud, it's It's got a lot of college kids. It's a lot of people who are disrespectful. It's everything that the Kims are not. They are quiet people. They are respectful. They are part of this community. They're actively involved, and they care about their neighbors to the point where they've done a number of revisions to accommodate the neighbors that are against this project. I wholeheartedly support this project. These are the people you want to stay in the neighborhood, and it'd be a downright shame if you let them leave over this. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for, I think, one more.
Okay, Sandra Casel, Garden Court Street. My question refers back to David, this other one here. Why would you buy a building that you needed to remodel or build up? 47 years ago, I saw what was happening to the neighborhood. I love my neighborhood. I've been here. I've been through all that's going on in the neighborhood. When I purchased my building 47 years ago, I had a small apartment because my husband and I were working. I finally made 2 floors. I took 2 floors in my building. Why did I do that? I got no children. I have just myself and my husband. I went from 600 square feet to 1,500 square feet. Why did I do it? I wanted more space. I want my husband to stay upstairs and downstairs. Why? Was that a question? Why do you want more space? Obviously, everybody wants more space. You have people that want to come and visit you. So, back to that question, Dave, I'm sorry. That's why I bought my building.
Mary, I'll give you the last word. We're running over right now, so I want to bring this to
I will be brief, but I have to say, in the interest of full disclosure, I speak as someone who has been in this exact situation of being in a butter to someone who wanted to build something that was going to totally block us in. And we were told the exact same thing. You're not entitled to your view. You're not entitled to that light. You're not entitled to that air. But guess what? We were entitled to it. We knew what we bought, and the people who wanted to go up knew what they bought. And the fact is, we did the exact same thing. We tried to be good neighbors. We said, you know what? We really can't handle just looking at the wall where we were looking at openness before, because there's not a lot of that in this area. But if you want to go up partially, we will support you. And it was the exact same situation where we were told, no, we want what we want, and this is what we need, and therefore we're going to go ahead with it. And it took a long time and a lot of legal fees, but in the end, we were successful, because the fact is, you're not entitled to do this. And again, I think that there are many of us here in this room who greatly value our view. It's why we bought, one of the major reasons that we bought what we bought. And I don't see how anyone has the right to come in and say, you don't have the right to it because I have needs that I knew you had that building, I knew you had that view, but guess what? Now I have my needs, and I have the right to take that away from you. I don't see how we, as a neighborhood association, can support a project like this when we have abutters who say we're willing to try to work out a compromise. I don't think it would be right for us to support a project like this in this circumstance.
So with that said, I want to ask the attorneys one last time, do you guys think that there's any compromise that can be worked out? Or do you think we should put it to a vote now?
I think we should put it to a vote. We've made several revisions. We don't believe that the addition that is proposed to this neighborhood blocks their view like it's being shown. There's a tremendous amount of open space by pushing it back 16 feet, 4 inches, keeping it as low as possible. At its highest point, it's only 5 feet above the roof line of 5, and at its lowest point, it's 4 feet 1 inch. So still have tremendous amount of window space, you know, overlooking those back windows, but the front windows, front door are very well open, and the front deck. This plan was designed so it would have the minimal effect on 5 Jackson. That said, we're fine. We appreciate the comments. This community makes some very tough decisions in this board, so we appreciate the comments, but we're more than happy to just take it to a vote and we'll move forward.
So that's your closing statement. I will forward the Same to you, and then we will go to vote.
I just want to make it very clear that views are protected under the law. Appellate courts have said that, so let's not pretend that you don't have it. And so is the air, and so is light, so there's no question about that. And certainly we understand that individuals have objectives in buildings, but if that's how you run your interpretation of the zoning law, you may as well forget what the zoning says about FAR. You may as well piecemeal erode the zoning one time after another, because an individual case is sympathetic. And that's not what the law is about. That's not how zoning works. If it would be nice to have another 4-to-1 ratio, by all means, let's all go to City Hall and lobby for a change in the ordinance. But this kind of piecemeal erosion, it just doesn't work. The rule of law suffers badly for everybody's benefit. So I just urge you to keep that in mind when you vote.
So we're going to do this on ballot 2, and you're put to a vote. Support if you're okay with the plans as is, oppose if not. The opposed were in the majority, 22 opposed, 15 in support. So we're not going to be able to write a letter in support of this.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Members, thank you.
We appreciate everything.